Thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. First things first, I want to say this LiveWire is geared toward folks that are just getting started with SignalWire or who might be familiar with one area but are looking to check out our other offerings. So with that in mind, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask them throughout the presentation via the chat. And if you haven't already seen the chat, you can expand it from the button on the bottom right, or the keyboard shortcut is O. And we'll be watching the chat throughout, and we'll have time blocked off at the end specifically to answer questions as well. And then also we're hosting a dedicated office hour tomorrow. So that's an hour where our time is yours and we'll hear your questions and answer them. But I'll talk more about that later. Also, do be aware that we're recording this session and sending it out along with all the resources that we referenced today and all the links. So don't worry too much if you miss something live. So, introductions. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the community manager for SignalWire. I'm joined today by Moheeb, our developer relations manager, and Jon, our advanced technical success specialist from our customer success team. We're super stoked to be here and to help you get started on your SignalWire journey or to check out some new features. So let's take a look at today's agenda. I'm going to be starting us off with an overview of the dashboard, and then we're going to take a look at the pages we'll be working out of today. After that, I'll hand over to Moheeb for his IVR demo, interactive voice response, and a walkthrough of the code behind it. From there, Jon's going to talk a little bit about programmable video conferences, which they enable you to get a video room up and running with little to no code and then to customize on top. And then he's also going to talk a little bit about the requirements for messaging with SignalWire and resources to get you started there, as well as a super simple example of what you can do with messaging once you're all set up. Now, for folks that want to do a little bit more with video, Moheeb's also going to talk about more options for setup and where to find some great examples there from what we've already got. And then I'll wrap us up with some additional resources to help you get started and where to go to ask for help. All right. So let's dive in. For anyone that hasn't already signed up for a SignalWire account, you can head to signalwire.com and select sign up. And once you've signed up for your account, you'll be prompted to create a space. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Since I've already got a space set up, quick thing, here's what space setup looks like. It's pretty quick and easy. But I've already got one set up, so I'm going to go ahead and join that one. So once I click into my space, here we are on the dashboard. This is going to be like mission control for a lot of the actions you're going to do with SignalWire. We're currently on the home page, which is where you'll see project ID and space URL front and center. So quick thing on projects and like how they differ from spaces. Projects are a way you separate work, or like each project could be for a different client, or you can split out your test from your prod environments. Anything where you want some separation, whether you want like usage reporting that's separate or distinct phone numbers, video rooms, and so on, while still keeping it within the same space, is going to be through projects. Now, when we created our space, the first project was created by default and it's named main. If you'd like to change that, you can head over to settings and change the name right there. So if we check out left navigation, everything listed here is contextualized by our project. So I'm seeing the video rooms, numbers, and usage for the main project specifically. Now, if you're looking for settings relating to your entire space or to your account, that's going to be up on the top right next to your initials, and there's the drop down there. Also, while we're looking up there, you can see that this space is still in trial mode and that it has $5 in credit to help us get started. Now, before I head off this page, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We've got our usage stats and some all-up views for phone numbers and video, but below that we've got links out to tutorials and guides, and more of our documentation and APIs down at the bottom. You've also got some common actions like adding a number and creating an API token, but I want to highlight this box shows you what you're going to need to do to exit trial mode. Now, trial mode limits the amount of actions you can perform, as well as, it limits the amount of actions you can perform when you get started, but pretty much everything we're going to do today, you can do from trial mode, so no worries there. So let's look at some of the areas we're going to be working out of today. First up, we've got video, and we're going to land here when Jon is talking through PVC, programmable video conferences. We've got usage here. Down at the bottom, we've got some guides to get started and then the references to go further. And once we actually have a PVC set up, you can review logs here, check out the rooms, and view recordings. Now, if you are looking at this area and you don't know what to do, the I Need Help button has a breakdown of what each of these tabs is going to do and kind of the actions you can take, as well as some more guides for them. Next up, we've got phone numbers. And this page is a hub for quite a few different activities you can do with SignalWire. It's pretty sparse right now since we don't have any numbers purchased, but I'm going to leave the majority of this for Moheeb in his IVR demo. But once again, just going to note guides to get started and then references to go further. Next up, we've got our Relay API. Now, another page that's pretty sparse right now, but we cover a lot of ground here. All the activity, calls, chat, messages is going to populate here through our Relay API. And we'll come back to this page later after Jon's demo to see it populated and dig in a little more. Now, I'm going to skip a few items here. We're not going to cover SIP today. We'll touch on LAML and messaging campaigns. We're going to skip Dialogflow, even though it's very cool and you should check it out. And integrations are going to be super dependent on which integration you want to do, so click in there for guides on each one individually. So that gets us down to API. Now, there's not a whole lot in this area, but we use API tokens for just about everything. So know that this is where you come to create, manage, and revoke tokens. And tokens are going to be project specific like everything else, but you can also get more granular permissions, so which actions each token can perform. But let's see some of this in action. I'm going to go ahead and hand off to Moheeb for an example.
All right, let's wait for my screen to show up here. Here we are. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to build a full-featured IVR app with the SignalWire real-time SDK. So an IVR is an interactive voice response application. At some point in your life, you've probably interacted with one. This particular example is going to be a pretend doctor's office. So when you call it, there'll be 4 options, which is to hear the hours and location, to leave a voice message that gets translated from speech to text, and then log down into the console to like create an appointment, an option to repeat all the options, and an option to connect you to a representative. For this, we're going to end up creating a SignalWire phone number. We're going to verify a phone number to allow the API to connect to it. In this case, I'll be showing how I verified my own phone number. And we're going to run this code all in the browser using something called Replit. Just to kind of touch back on what I just mentioned, we're using the real-time API. So this is our kind of like an all-inclusive API for all the things you can do with Relay. So video, voice, messaging, chat, pub sub, creating tasks, and creating a client. In this case, this example will use the voice portion of the real-time SDK. So of course, you can find the full instructions for this on our developer blog at signalwire.com/blog/developers. Includes all the instructions, a full walkthrough if you miss anything from the demo today. So to get started, we're going to first grab the example from Replit. We have a Replit page. Shefali has dropped the link in the chat. This is where we have a bunch of code examples that you can run entirely in browser. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the link to that. New tab here. And then I'm just going to fork this REPL to create my own version of it.
Так минимально. А мы
So, all right, so we've now forked this REPL. Again, it's a Node.js application. So we're using the real-time SDK for Node. You can see here we're pulling out just the voice portion of this. And it requires a couple of environment variables. We want the project ID, the SignalWire token, and a verified number. When you create any what's called a relay consumer, so since this uses the real-time API to connect to the relay voice services, we call it a consumer. Anything that uses relay is a consumer. And a consumer can have a context set, and you set that context when you run the consumer application. So you don't have to configure this elsewhere for an app to have a context with which it works. And then we can configure phone numbers to forward to a specific context. In this case, I've set the context to IVR, completely arbitrary. So in order to connect, though, we need the project ID, token, and the verified number. But before we put all those variables in, let's go to the dashboard here and look back at phone numbers. I've already created a phone number that's configured, but let's go ahead and just create a new one. In the top right, there's a button that says new. So we're just going to purchase a number. Now I could purchase a toll-free, just like a 1-800 number or a local area code number. In this case, let's just grab a toll-free number right here. Actually, another fun thing is in the local numbers, actually in either number, you can search for a matching word to numbers. So as you know, numbers can correspond to letters. So if you wanted to have a 1-800 call me, blah, blah, you could create that number. We'll just buy any number. And then it takes you to a page to configure it. So we can say, accept incoming calls as voice calls. And then how do you want to handle that call? The common path has normally been to use a LAML webhook, which if you've used other types of services similar to SignalWire, you may have used LAML. You may have migrated from that service because of our compatibility APIs. But in this case, we're going to just use the Relay application, so we don't have to host a webhook anywhere. This application can literally run anywhere. We have examples for running them on a Raspberry Pi. So you can even connect it to a free switch connector if you're more on that end, or Dialogflow agent, etc. So we'll set Relay, and we set it to the context IVR that the application has set. We're not going to be using messaging, but I'm just going to configure that to IVR as well while we're here. And then we go ahead and click Save. So now that number is owned and will forward to the context we've set. So let's see, what else did we need for our consumer? Right, we need a verified number. So we've saved this, and then we'll go back to phone numbers. There's a tab here called Verified. Now, I've already verified my number, so I can't really do it again, but if you wanted to, you could hit New in the top right, type in your phone number with the area and country code, and it'll call that number and give you a code, a one-time code that you would then enter into SignalWire. This just lets it know that you're confirming that you're okay with SignalWire connecting your phone number using it programmatically. This is partially to prevent spam usage. All right, so we've created that new number, and we have a number that's verified. So next we need our project ID. So we'll go back, we'll go to API and copy our project ID. And then in Replit on the left side of the menu, there's a secrets tab. This lets you create environment variables, similar to how you would have a .env file. Any variable you put in here would function the same way. So the application expects SignalWire project ID. And that's secret. And then we need the token. So we go back to API credentials, and top right, we'll hit New, and we'll create a new token. Now, you can change the scope. You can say it can only call, or it can only do chat, messaging, or tasks, or video. In this case, I'm just going to set them all. And we'll call this LIVEWire or token. Save. Created a token. We can show it, copy it. And so in here we add SignalWire token. And then we'll add the verified number. And we include the country code. So for US +1. All right, so now this application is all configured. So now we just hit run. So now it's started. And so I'll give this a call and a test, and then we can walk through what's happening in the code. So I'll go back to phone numbers. Let's call one of these. They're both configured, and I forgot which one was the new one. So 1-833-659.
Thank you for calling the offices of Dr. Zhivago. To hear hours and location, press 1. To make an appointment, press 2. To speak with a representative, press 0. To hear all options again, press 3.
So we'll press 1 to hear hours. Something happened there. Let's redial there. Call must have dropped.
Thank you for calling the offices.
So I pressed 1.
Located at Scottsdale Road and Acoma 1 mile south of Bell Road. We are open weekdays till 8 and Saturdays till 9.
All right, so that was the first option, and then it's set to hang up after it's read the hours.
Thank you for calling the offices of Dr. Zhivago.
So now option 2 is to make an appointment.
To hear, please say your name and number, reason for calling, and requested time of appointment.
Test 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 SignalWire test 1 2. So we see there when I did the option to leave a name and number to create a booking, that part of it, of the application, was using speech to text that's built into SignalWire. So we see that logged out in the console here in Replit. And then we'll do one more, which is the connect to a representative.
Thank you for calling the offices of Dr. Please enter your password.
And since I'm calling from my own number and the verified number I have it set to forward to is myself, it just takes me to my voicemail inbox. So it's pretty cool, right? Very little configuration that we had to do. All we had to do was purchase a phone number through, create a SignalWire phone number with voice calling enabled. We had it set to the context for this relay consumer that's running. And then we verified a number and then just put those variables into this application, ran it, and all calls are now forwarded to this application, which is running in Replit, similar to Code Sandbox, the browser-based coding environment. So let's walk through this code, right? So first thing we do, we pull out the voice API. We create the relay consumer, and then we say, okay, when a call is received, we see that call is, we answer that call, and then we create first a playlist object. This is all, again, through relay, all programmatic versus doing things in XML like with LAML. So we create our playlist, and our playlist is a set of audio that we can play and reuse. So we say, for the first part, play an MP3 file, which is just a beep sound. Then use the text-to-speech function to say, thank you for calling this office. We add a moment of silence, and then we say our options. And then we pass that to an arbitrary function that I've created. It just kind of takes all of this together and does the different cases. And we pass it the call object and the playlist object. And then we call the call prompt function. And this creates a prompt using either speech or digits. In this case, we've said digits, and we expect 1 digit to be sent. And so when we wait for the result of that prompt, which can happen at any moment, we pull out the digits that are returned from that, and that's going to be a string 1 through 9, or 0 through 9 as a string, and then we just create a switch case function. So we say for when, if someone presses 1, we're going to play back just a text-to-speech of the hours, wait for the playback to end, and then hang up the call. If they say they want to leave a speech-to-text appointment booking, we'll create another prompt object, and we'll pass it another text-to-speech to say, say your name and reason for calling. And instead of digits as the prompt input, we'll say speech. And with speech, we say the language is English. And then we create an event handler for when the prompt has ended, when the speech has ceased, or if they've pressed the pound key. And then we log that out. Now, right here, you could change what happens in this part of the function and pass that text to your own API to add to, say, a Google spreadsheet or something of that sort. And then finally, the third option, or third and fourth option, right, is to either just replay all these options or connect the phone call to another call to the verified number to connect to a representative. And that's simply done with call.connectPhone. So that's how all this works. It's about 100 lines to create a full IVR. And I can even show you here in the Relay tab, we actually see all the different interactions that have occurred, every call that's come through. And that's what I have. So I'm going to kick it off to Jon to show what you can do with messaging.
Yeah, so in addition to the voice offerings that SignalWire has, video conferencing is a crucial integration to all the methods that we have for you. So video conferencing promotes a lot more meaningful and effective interactions for you and your customers or your peers. I really couldn't imagine having to host this LiveWire session over a series of voice calls and a bunch of text messages. It would be an absolute mess. So thanks to the tools and product offerings of SignalWire, this video chat application that we're on right now is possible. Makes it a lot easier to have this presentation and do this webinar right now. So for our demo, we'll be going over how programmable video conferences disrupt any preconceived notions on the amount of dev resources that you need in order to get a video chat application going. Through easily copy and pastable snippets, you can turn a project that would normally take a couple weeks or a couple months into one that can be started in just a few minutes, and then you can wrap it up in just a few hours. So this means a lot less time working on the tasks that we dislike, like syntax errors and application architecture. Lets us spend a lot more time on the things that we do enjoy, like appearances, aesthetics, and more integrations and business logic. So let's take a look at some of these different methods for incorporating video into our application, and then follow along as each one of these additions of the SignalWire Video API Toolkit heavily increases the communication possibilities for our application. So if I could get my screen thrown up really quick and go over the dashboard, and we can get going on some programmable video conferences.
Jon, is your screen being shared?
Oh, I might need to share my screen first. I guess I dropped it down, my bad. Sorry about that, Chelsea. I'm making it hard on you. There we go. All right, so here we have our SignalWire dashboard. As Alex was showing us before, I'm going to navigate over to our video section. And here we can see a nice overview. Down at the bottom, we have some additional resources. We're definitely going to be checking those out as we customize our application. So to get going, we have all of our video conferences. However, I'm going to click create a new one. It's a button that my head was covering up in the top right corner. However, we can create this to be whatever it is we want to. So we'll call it LiveWire. Let's do room instead of ROM. That looks awesome. And then we are in our video conference settings, at least. Right here, we can adjust a lot of different things for our end user to be able to see, such as availability, maybe the quality that we want to have the video conference set at. A layout, we can make it so it's only 1x1, 2x2, or a variety of different SignalWire layouts that we have available for you. The size, in case you want to have a larger conference that maybe you weren't used to before, want to make sure that we have necessary resources and we can back that up. Keep on going as many people as you'd like. However, if you want to keep it a small niche conference, selecting a proper size will help you optimize your application. Record on start, enable room previews, and enable chat. Room previews are fantastic because it gives us a little sneak peek into the room before we're even inside of the room. So we can kind of spy and see what's maybe happening around the office or what other people are doing on the application without actually needing to be in the room. We can get a couple seconds sneak peek and maybe do a little bit of spying while that's happening. And then chat, as we're all familiar with from using this webinar right now, awesome feature so that, we don't have to be disrupted by people asking questions, or, we can have a nice track record of everything as we're going. So these are all possibilities just through the UI. We don't have to code anything in order to make our video conference have these features. We really only have to click on yes, no, and kind of go about that. In addition to settings, we also have appearances. So we can make the color real nice. Maybe I want to change this to a SignalWire blue, or a not so SignalWire blue for any marketing people in the room to call me out. And then maybe like a nice purple for some of our other buttons. So we're able to see what the conference is. However, no one's really in this conference. It's kind of boring not having anybody, in the room. So SignalWire can host this video conference for us, and we can even just go up here, join room as a moderator, and check out what our room would look like. So this is what our application would be, just as a video conference, standalone, and just as it is. Enter my name, John. I allowed my microphone and my camera and such. Selecting the proper camera, let's do those, as well as we can always do selecting as well and testing. So let's join this room. Hopefully I'll pop up. Nice. There I am. Awesome. So this is SignalWire hosted. We're in a video conference. We have all of our stuff. I didn't click save before I joined the room, so the colors didn't appear. But if I were to click save, and let's join again. There we go. And although that's a terrible color, I've definitely changed that one. We can see how, almost immediately we can add some customizations to that. However, this application is kind of just a basic voice call, and it's hosted on SignalWire. So we have really no customization, and we really can't do very much with it. So let's check out some of our resources. As Alex mentioned previously, on the bottom of almost every page, you're going to find something that can help you out. So let's check out the integrate video conferences with any website. Sounds right up our alley. Yeah. Because I've seen this page once or twice before, I'm going to scroll down to a static HTML page, make it really simple and basic. So we see that all we have to do is copy and paste our little snippet of code that SignalWire will provide to us through the UI into a little div that we can throw into an HTML page. So let's get this going. I'm going to go back to our conference. I'll pick my LiveWire room. I can check out the embed code. And this is going to be our script that we can just copy and then throw into an environment here. So I have just a basic HTML page, nothing too fancy. All I did was add the divs that the SignalWire resources gave to us, and then just paste this snippet in real easy. Save this up, and then we're still stuck with the ugly blue over here. I should have changed that. However, we see that the video conference will join. If we were to go through the steps and everything, we can get into there. Perfect. However, we've hosted it, but I want to add some more customization. I want to be able to see what's happening in the room. Maybe I want to, change different things when someone enters or leaves, or when someone's talking, or when someone's screen sharing, or maybe recording, or any one of those possibilities. We want to add more customization, just have the opportunity to do so. So if we navigate back over to our documentation, we see a little snippet here saying if we want to add some more changes to our snippet, we can check out an additional reference. We can check out some of these parameters that we can enter into the snippet in order to customize it even farther. So the token is going to be what we use to identify what the room is, identify the conference. You can create one of these via API, or you can do it through the just through the interface of the dashboard in order to create one specific conference for you. This token can be changed in and out. However, if you just copy and paste the snippet, everything will be done for you. And you, as you saw, really don't have to do a whole lot if you don't want to change things up. The username, maybe if we want to have like a login page, and we can remember when a certain user joins, we can just set this username to be something specific. The theme, light or dark, so that it fits your vibe and your aesthetic of whatever your application's fitting. Audio and video restraints. Maybe we want to have like a Clubhouse style demo, and we don't want to have any video accessible, or maybe we don't want the audience to be able to talk and interrupt. So we'll make all of them audio muted and only video. Maybe you want to have a supreme social anxiety application where no one can talk or video and everyone's just in the room. Can't think of why you'd want to do that, but whether you want to do all video, all audio, both, or none, really the possibilities around this kind of mix and match and do whatever it is that you please. Lastly, member list to see who's in the room. Chat, as we saw, we can enable either API or through the interface. And then the device picker, which is that little screen that we saw before, saying which camera do you want to use, which microphone do you want to use, do you want to test your audio, all that stuff. We can set that to false if we don't want to make our users go through that whole flow. We can kind of tailor it to their experience. Lastly, the most important part, and something that I really enjoy to kind of take this to the next level, is the setting up a room session. So a room session gives us a view and gives us information about what's happening in the room through an API level, rather than actually being in the room and needing to see, maybe John joined or John left. We can have events sent back to our server as to what is occurring all through this room session, and by specifying what room or what member specific events might occur in order for us to trigger and get one of those. So now that we have all these, let's add some to our application that we have going. So down here, as we saw, we can just add to our snippet existing one that we have. So just for giggles, we'll set chat to be false, just so we can change some things up. We'll set the device picker false, so we don't have to do anything else. And then lastly, I want to add that room session so that we can look a little bit deeper into the room and see what's actually happening in there. So this room session is pretty basic. It's really just going to tell us when it's ready. We haven't specified that we want to receive an event when someone joins or someone leaves or any specific event. However, we can at least see that it's ready for whenever we want to use it. So we see that the pre-join the device picker as false made it so that our default camera and microphone were used. I get a little print to our console saying the room session object is ready. It kind of got cluttered in the other messages that we got, but we can at least see that we're ready to use this room session if we ever choose to. And then we can also see that the chat is disabled and the likes. So a few snippets, little added parameters that we can do. However, that's nice, but we take it a step further, obviously. We want to add more customization and actually do something with this information that we're given. So let's leave this room. Head over to SignalWire Replit, as we were saying before, just a living code base for a lot of our applications that we think are cool and we want to show off and share. So I can just open this one right here, calculate talk time in a video room. So let's see how we can use the event of a certain member talking, when they start and when they end, in order to create a holistic time and maybe keep records as to who's talking for how long and so on. So down here, we keep on talking about the room session. I'm obsessed over it. We can see that the member joined. We're going to be sending those parameter over to our function that we have created for when a member joins. For whatever your application does for when a member joins, you can do yours. Ours, we just created our own little track record as well as to what's happening. However, the most important one for this application is going to be the member talking. So when a member is talking, we're able to send those parameters to our function. And let's see what happens when we do so. So here we have username. We specified the username to just be this variable that we set in there. And then we kicked that through our programmable video conference so that we're still back in there. Going through our device picker. I didn't set those to be false. They were still at true. So we're going to be going along all here. I should have opened this in a different tab because I'm not going to be able to see too well over here with the preview that Replit gives us. Let's join from 2 different rooms and see what happens. Oh, the same room from 2 different tabs. My apologies. All right. We are. Username 1 started talking. We get a timestamp as to what happened. I don't know if I'm only getting the reverb. I want to show you guys. And then you can see when we stop talking, we take a little difference as the timestamp. Didn't add any units here, but however it feels to you, you can receive that. However, it is pretty close to real time, as you can see the events being sent from our local host over to SignalWire and then back over to our our own server in order to do all those interactions pretty quick. See start and stop. So that's one additional, little feature, little tidbit of what you could possibly do. However, incorporating more methods of communication is ultimately what really can take your application to the next level, using not only video, but also incorporating messaging and voice and the likes and chat. Mixing all those together is really what makes a nice web of communication application, as we like to kind of refer to it. So to talk about messaging just really briefly, I do want to go back to the SignalWire dashboard and go over messaging campaigns. We had a LiveWire last month going all over what the campaign registry is, creating a brand, creating a campaign. But the long story short is that any message that's sent through SignalWire to any US destination is going to need to have a messaging registration tied to it, whether it's toll-free, long code, short code, or the likes. It's going to have some form of registration behind it. So in order to do this, since I don't have a registration going, I don't have anything set up, I'm going to go over to a space that does. And I'm going to show off how to use the SignalWire real-time SDK, the same one that Moheeb was using before, to create a messaging client instead of creating a voice client. So really the only SignalWire code that we really need to use here is creating our client from our project ID and our API token. We entered those in from just our secrets that Moheeb went over before that we can enter in Replit. And then lastly, just this part right here, where we have our client sending a message from the specific context. Moheeb set his to IVR previously. I'm just setting it to Office for this one. And then our from, to, and body. So messaging is fairly static in the sense that, you can send a message, you can receive a message. However, you can't, transfer or record calls or, not playing videos into a room. We're not having to see when participants are joining. So in terms of the other communication methods, it's a lot more stable, which gives, or I shouldn't say a lot more stable, a lot more static in the sense that, it's really just a lot less layers of complexity. So creating an application to just send a message is really quite simple. As you see, it's maybe 10 lines or so in order to get this going. So I want to incorporate texting into our previous application that we have. And let's see if I can just send out a room link over to phone number. As we're sending any messages, we'll follow some general messaging guidelines and say, it's a message from SignalWire. And then just in case any carriers are looking, I don't want to have any bad rep. So reply stop. Send this out. Message was sent. I'll wait for a message to kind of pop up. And we can check out our dashboard in order to track this message to see what happened. So we see that it was accepted, it was sent through. We can receive different events and status callbacks as to what actually occurred, or we can just simply look at the dashboard. And this, we can see we have a couple messages that were sent out. The one that was just sent, maybe not have populated quite yet. Oh, let me go back. So log back in really quick. However, on the dashboard, you'll be able to see what happened to the message, if it was sent, if it was received, and then just get an additional layer of tracking into that. So we see that 1 minute ago, this message was delivered, and we can check out some additional details outbound, what the body was, as well as pricing to, from, direction, and the likes. Now, we sent that text message. Let's head back to our application. Let me join the room. And just like that, joining into our room. And we can see me at the bottom. Aspect ratio. There we go. Nice and fixed. Get a little better view at me so we're not just looking at down. However, as you can see, incorporating different communication methods is real easy using our Relay SDK. You can mix and merge video, voice, messaging, chat, the likes, and really create a monstrous application of communication. So on that, to take it even further on some video, I'm going to pass it over to Moheeb.
All right. Let's see if we can get my screen shown. Okay. Yeah. So, John just went over all the cool stuff you can do with programmable video communication if you wanted to just embed a pre-existing conference room with all the bells and whistles. But what if you wanted to take that further and kind of build your own application around it, make dynamic rooms, make it easy for someone to just create their own rooms, just like you would in a typical video conferencing app, or like the app that we're using to run this LiveWire right now. So we have a number of guides. If you go to our developer blog, we have a couple of guides. We have one for building a video conferencing app using entirely Vue.js and JavaScript, with a full GitHub repository with full instructions on how to run it locally or in the cloud, and how to work with the various components we built for it. So we've got it all here. If you go to that blog, it takes you to the GitHub, which even has a full explanation, like I said, of all the components we built for this. So everything from creating a SignalWire room to creating invite links to having room previews and all of that fun stuff. And I'll actually show you a live demo I have of this running. So I have it running locally. And so here, if I just type in random name, text room, and I've enabled room previews, join this room, and it's using my let me real quick. So it's using my my other camera here, and so I've got all the different things you would expect, like a device selector, the ability to change layouts, all of that built in. But another cool thing is we can do that the room preview also shows up. So if more rooms were created, I'd see a whole catalog of every room here, and I could click into them and join. And so the front end is Vue and the back end is all Node.js. And every part of the, and we have an echo there. And every part of this is a component that is reusable and custom. So if you wanted to make your own interfaces or your own type of device selector, you could do that. You could build this into an Electron app, and using, if you wanted to, you could use our React version of this project, which you can find on our guides. It's making a Zoom clone with JS. This is using React and has a UI similar to what's baked into the programmable video conference rooms. And we also have more guides on our blog. We have a blog for starting your SignalWire journey, which goes over a number of other guides for voice, all these guides for video, including our different examples for the programmable video communication, including showing how to do a background blur or background image replace on a video conferencing room, being able to like swap out the camera feeds, as well as our Vue.js and React.js examples and several messaging and chat applications. And so that's all available online. And again, we have our SignalWire Replit with plenty of more guides to get you going. And with that, I will pass it on to Alex.
Hello again, everyone. So thanks for the great walkthroughs, guys. I'm going to wrap up with some additional resources that we have for you all, and I also want to make sure you know where to go if you get stuck. But before we get to that, we've got a survey for folks. It's going to take about a minute for you to fill out, and it directly informs what sort of content we're putting out in future live wires. So we'd really appreciate if you take the time to fill it out. You should see the link in the chat now. Yep, there it is. And for folks watching the recording, we're going to leave the survey open for a week, so please feel free to fill it out as well. I'm going to give folks a minute to look at this before we get on to the rest of the resources. Chelsea, can we get music for a minute? Nice. All right, I think we're good. Sorry, I was grooving. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. All right, so moving on. So resources. I'm back on my space dashboard, which you can see in the middle of the screen. The help button up top is where you're going to find the resources I'm talking about right now. We've got documentation, which is our developer portal, and that'll be a roundup of all the documentation. That's where you start. We've got our Slack community where you can go to ask questions and connect with other folks using SignalWire, and of course we're in there as well. And then a shortcut to submit your new support request or to review existing support requests. So I just want to call out here, if you have a question that's a how-to, if you're wondering, say, how to set up call forwarding, or like, is a certain feature available with SignalWire, that's a great opportunity to go to the Slack and ask. But if your question's going to involve any account information, or if you're debugging something where we're going to have to look at code, please open a support ticket so that we can work with you directly, protect your information, and also get you squared away as quick as possible. And while we're looking at the top nav, I do want to call out the earn $500 for creating an open source app with SignalWire. That's part of our ongoing code bounty program where we're paying for open source contributions that are backed by SignalWire. So beginners are more than welcome to submit. So if you're checking out resources and you want to try to build something out, check out the blog and see if it's something you'd be interested in participating in. One last thing, tomorrow we're hosting the dedicated beginner-focused Q&A session. It's at 9 Pacific. We hold the office hours once a month, same time, same place. It's usually with the feature as the focus, and this time it's just anything beginner. Our time's yours for the hour, so you're welcome to join. You can ask questions about getting started or let us know how we can make this better for you. And that said, the rest of the hour, we're also going to open for questions. So if anyone has any, ask away. So it seems like folks are good for right now. Tomorrow's beginner session, Shefali linked it in the chat. It's labeled the office hour, and we'll also send it out with the follow-up resources. So for folks that are looking to join, we'll send the invite and also the recording of this session and all the links, including what we put in chat.
Yeah, I had a completely newbie basic question.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. I've been doing IT for years, but I haven't touched any of this stuff. So what I've got right now is I ported a number that I used to have that I haven't used in years over to SignalWire, and I'm hoping that I can find some type of soft phone device. I think somebody mentioned it in the chat, but I can find some type of soft phone to where I can receive and create and make phone calls using my other number from my cell phone. And I believe that's one of the things y'all do, but I have no idea how to get started on that. Y'all put a couple of links out there earlier. I'm going to go and look through those later on today and see what happens.
Did we link
Fantastic.
the one that's just the full guide? I feel like we did.
Yeah, I think I linked maybe to the Zoiper one. And then right next to there, you'll see a list of a bunch of different of our favorite other soft phones. If you want to do Bria, MicroSip, we use Zoiper a lot internally as well, just because it's an easy interface, just a couple steps, and then you can get going. Yeah, not too difficultly. So I personally use that one. However, we do have guides for numerous of them. So just follow step by step, and then as things pop up, we're definitely around. And as I mentioned, we use it internally. So just about anybody who works at SignalWire will probably be able to assist you if you have any questions on this.
Perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I've also got a friend that is in the process of starting a new business this week. And we're looking to, she doesn't have a real phone system set up yet. So I was hoping to get into this and, get detailed for using it as a business phone. I think what you showed us with the doctor's office is perfect. A way to get them going. And one feature I'd really like to see is for instance, I'd like a phone call to come in and have it ring on 3 different people's cell phones, so that whoever answers the phone first can talk to the customer, stuff like that. And I think that y'all are exactly what I'm looking for. I just need to, I need to jump in the water and start playing with it on mine first, so that if I screw it up, I won't lose they won't lose the client, and then bring them on board in another month or so.
Excellent. Yeah, and definitely keep in touch with us, because we'd be curious to see your progress on that and where we can help if you find any blockers along the way.
Perfect. Thank y'all very much. And I think I'm in the beginners conference tomorrow also. Though I was a bit confused that the follow-up chat was 2 hours before this conference. Until I saw that it was on the next day. I was like, how are they going to do this? I know it's in a different time zone, but what's going on? So thank y'all very much. I appreciate it. And I'll let somebody else take the floor now.
Thank you.
Awesome. Looks like we have time for maybe one more question if anyone has one.
I have one. Do you hear me?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was thinking about a project a long time ago, and I was kind of confused because you have like if you have an account for like an user, you have the what do you call SignalWire domain name. And I was kind of asking if it's possible to have a different domain, because my project is kind of having different companies, have their own phone system, and that will be tied to their domain instead of yours. And I think some email, and they said that they were gonna go into that and have a discussion. I don't know if you that in the past.
Yeah,
Are you saying I'll let you take this one, Moheeb.
Oh yeah, I was saying, so you're saying your customers would like to have a custom SignalWire domain name for their space. Is that correct?
I would like to offer a service so anybody can buy it. Like anybody can buy a phone number or different phone numbers, and they can use those numbers for their businesses. I don't know if you know about Intermedia. They kind of offers that kind of voice over IP service, where you can purchase for a company or different companies. By the way, I work in IT, and we basically do that kind of thing. We have clients, and they use the service, and it's like having a set of fonts for each client, in this case company, and they have their font. You can set it, you know, what was hello.
Hello. Yeah, your audio cut out for me a bit. John, maybe you can take this.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just saying, if it's possible to have, multiple clients, in my case, to offer that service, and both clients, the font and the usage, and I can, kind of manage or organize the calls and stuff like that. I am Signal.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. We have a lot of our customers who basically have a similar model to what you have. They'll have their customers purchase phone numbers, through our API. They'll be able to set, whatever webhook or set their own dial plan. Because these are all available via API, you can do a lot of this tracking yourself. However, if you want to see it in like the UI form through the dashboard, you can always separate things out via project. And then those are each going to have unique project ID and API tokens. So that way, if you want to have, this cluster is only able to use this project and this number on, this specific use case, you can definitely do that. Projects then even go into sub-projects. So you can really just keep on going down a rabbit hole and separate it on the space or the project level as much as you'd like. The kind of monitoring, what is actually happening. We have pretty fantastic billing APIs that, will give you the availability of like how much a specific call really cost you. And, using a list for a specific number, you could definitely be able to see, John using his 833 number had 57 minutes and it cost me $5. So, I can then charge that over. But given what we have, API availability with like our listing stuff, as well as separating things out into different projects, I think that you should be able to manage something that works and kind of tailors to your specific needs, depending on, like your size and, how many customers you have, how much interaction they have between each other. But hopefully that maybe gave you an idea or two on how to go about
I think you
great.
I hope the answer was, yeah, that was awesome. I hope that's what you're saying.
Awesome. All right. I think that's all the time we have today, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you again soon.